In this demonstration, the agenda is to show how you can install MPOS on a cloud-hosted dev environment. There are 3 steps to it, um, and I will be going one by one on each of them. So the first step is to set up the worker and the identity for the MPOS user. So now I will go into the worker, but before that I will first go into retail and commerce, click on worker, click on new, give a demo in the first name, and basically it's a test name, and then set up the start date, and I just want to make sure that it's valid and a day before today or earlier than today. Then set up a position for that worker, and um, just to be relevant, I would be looking for a retail operation worker. So let's look at it. Most likely I would either go with a sales associate or a manager. Let's go with a sales associate, and then click hire and add details. Now I will link the address book to the Houston address book. So this is how I will connect the store and this worker and make that connection. So let's find Houston. Okay, Houston is selected. Okay, now I save it and then override the POS permission because I had selected the position as cashier, but I need full access, so I'm overriding the position and making it as a manager. Yep, you're okay with that. Now I will set the identity, and but before that let's confirm that the store is already linked up to this worker. You can see that it is linked up to Houston. Just to make sure, I will click on the retail channel and just check a vice versa from there by clicking on worker. So I should see my demo worker when I search from here. So let's look at it that. Okay, I can find my demo user, which I had created earlier. So we are good with that connection to the store. Okay, now I will link up the identity or the associate, click on associate identity. And this is the Azure Active Directory login. So I would select mine in this case as a demo. Once that is done, you can see it by clicking on the Commerce tab that the UPN and the external ID are filled up. Now I'm setting up my password for MPOS user. This is the completion of the step 1. Now we will jump to the second step, which is update the security settings that is needed for MPOS on a local VM. We will run a PowerShell script to set up the data which is needed for the security of MPOS to operate. So I will go to the retail SDK folder by going into the K drive, retail SDK, tools, and then there is this PowerShell script retail tenant update tool. So let's copy that path and go to command line under the administrative mode with the PowerShell script. Switch to K drive, then go to the retail SDK folder, then go to tools. Now here we will run the PowerShell script. So it will ask for the username which we had set up on the worker So I will pass the same username which was set up earlier in the video. As after we log in, it will pick up some values from Azure and update the SQL tables and also restart the service as well as also sync up the um, CDX job. So you can see that it is restarting the service and updating CDX sync up. We are all set now with that part. So now I will open the PowerShell just to explain what is happening inside. You can see that it is just setting up some default things, and by looking at the DB name and the retail channel server and all that, and after that it is just checking all the prereqs, and then it is going and updating those tables. So you can see here it is updating those tables. In a UAT and production environment, you don't need to do that because you will do it from a UI. I will be showing you that in a second. You would go to a retail commerce shared parameters. So it is taking a little bit time because the service was restarted. So it is refresh, and now opening a new form will take a little bit time. So just give it a minute. Okay, we are on the commerce shared parameter form. You can see the identity provider. This is where it has updated the values, and there are other tables as well. This all can be set up through using the UI, but that's a topic for another day and another video, because that needs detailed attention. In this video, you just run that PowerShell command and all that you need to do to set up the security. Third and final step is installing MPOS on the dev VM or any other machine connecting to that dev VM. Go to channel deployments, um, and you can go to channel deployments by going into the retail screen and then clicking on channel deployments. Then click on devices, search for Houston. Houston 3 is already configured for a desktop. So let's search for Houston. Yep. Let's look at Houston 3. Okay, this is Houston 3. Um, you can see that it is, for desktop. First, I would validate it for that particular user that it is already set up. We are good to go. So it is configured, pre-configured for this worker. Let's check it. Okay, the validation has passed, so we are good to go. Now I will click on download. First, I will click the configuration file. It is just an XML file which tells the default value of the register and the device. If you don't download this, basically you have to pass this value manually. While installing MPOS, make sure both of the setup and the XML file are in the same folder to make the automatic deployment work. Otherwise, you have to pass the value manually. Now I will click on the retail modern MPOS, which this is the package version which it will be downloaded. Let's go ahead and click on it. It will ask you to save the file. So I will go ahead and click on that. Let's save it to the same folder where I have the XML file. I had already saved it, so I will overwrite it. Yes. Okay, now it is downloaded. So you can see that I have multiple XML file for the same thing, but all contains the same value. It's just I have downloaded it multiple times. So let's run the setup. It is extracting the code or the setup. Once it is done, it will install it and then ask you for some credentials or setups parameters. So just wait for it. Okay, the installation is complete. So we can close that and go to command line and type retail MPOS. Okay, now we are going to activate it. You can see the values are defaulted. This is because of that XML file which we had downloaded earlier. If we had not done it, we have to fill this manually, which is just a little bit cumbersome, but either way works. So click on activate. Now it is contacting our retail server. So it will take a few minutes. It's a dev server, so it's taking a little bit of more time than what we would have expected. Okay, now it is asking me for the credentials. This again ties back to our step 1 and 2. Those have to be completed so that for us to start. Now I can log in with the same worker through which I had validated, or I can use any other worker. Um, yep, voila, we have logged into the MPOS and it's in a working condition. So now we can make some test transactions. That's all for this video.